So can you explain what really, it sounds like this partnership will allow you guys to kind of do more together than you can do individually on your own, especially in terms of maybe organizing events and getting your brand out there. I mean, can you explain, go into a little bit more detail about how it helps you?
Yeah, the nice thing is that it's nice when you can put partnerships together that leverage capacities, don't duplicate, and can generate more value. So our real belief is that we leverage the capabilities that we have at United Way to produce programs that can be measured, are transparent, and accountable, to the donors that support them. You put it together with a powerhouse brand like the New Orleans Hornets, it really adds up to even more capability to deliver impact. And so that's our hope. We know that the Hornets have been doing community enrichment programs. We want to help them do them better, have them be more effective, and be able to measure the results so we can show year over year to the Hornets fan base, look at the impact the Hornets are having in the community as a result of the community enrichment programs that they have deployed into the community.
Can you give me, just because I think I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing how this kind of translates into a real world situation, I'm sure other people maybe are also. Can you give me a specific example of how this partnership will benefit the community in some way?
So as an example, if you take a program like the Hornets designed to encourage school attendance at a particular school, we might help determine the best possible school location for a program like that where you might get a greater impact. We can also help generate financial resources to support it, and then we can look at it and measure it long term to help you see that it's actually having a long-term systemic impact. Not a one-off where you can say, okay, well, the kids came to school, they showed up and their attendance was great and we rewarded them, but we can actually track and measure their progress over time. And so as a way to add not just quantitative or qualitative, but also quantitative data to support it.
Is it fair to say that your involvement with Hornets Community Service projects will allow them to maximize the efficiency, if you will, of how they spend their money and how they spend their time?
Absolutely. I mean, the way I look at it is, I would never pretend to be able to run, a basketball franchise and understand how the Hornets, brand can influence the community. But what I do know is I know community impact, and I understand that what it takes to determine what programs are effective, how to ensure that they're accountable, and then measure them. And so, like Shelley and I have talked a number of times, we're going to put the Hornets in a position of strength as far as leveraging what they have and their capabilities as far as their brand and the power that brings to the table with our ability to deliver strong community impact programs. Once again, measure and evaluate. I think that's the thing, is sometimes if we don't evaluate programs, we don't know if we're really making a difference.
Yeah.
And I know long term that Shelley and Hugh and the entire team want to make sure that these programs are indeed effective. And then to go back to the Hornets fan base and season ticket holders and investors in the franchise and say, we're making a difference. Look at this, we can show you long-term success.
It sounds like you've been doing this for a long time. Can you give me an example of a time where you've used the tracking tools that you have at your disposal to identify a particular area where you're spending money and you're not getting a good return?
Or we're not getting a return. It's hard to say. I don't think it'd be appropriate to mention specific nonprofit organizations.
Okay, I mean, even if it's just
I'll put it this way though. There are a lot of organizations in the community that deal with youth, and you got good-hearted people, volunteers and staff that are really committed to serving youth. But if they don't have the right competencies and skills, they might not be doing the most effective job. And there have been cases where we've said, listen, these programs aren't effective, we can't fund you anymore. We'll help you to be better, but we're not going to be able to fund you like we have before, because we want to direct those resources to programs we know that work. Because I'm a donor, and what I want to know when I give my gift to United Way is that it's getting results. And we have to be able to show that, and it can't be just me saying, well, we got results. I have to be able to show this agency had this amount of progress, this is what's happened with the children, here we've seen improvement in testing scores. And a lot of that, we've been documenting around early care and education, trying to track the number of children that come through child care facilities and quality care, and then they show up to the first grade testing ready to learn. Because it's a good measure of how kids are going to do long term. And then at the fourth grade level, are they reading, on grade at fourth grade? If they're not, it's a good indicator they're not going to even stay in school. And so we've done that. And there have been a lot of cases, if you look in our history, where our funding priorities have changed, or funding around certain nonprofits have changed because the ability to deliver the results wasn't there. But I will say this, the best thing about working with United Way is we also say we're not going to abandon you. Let's work with you to assist you in your management and try to be better so you can come back, because we want to fund really good programs, and if we can help you be better, then we'll do that.
Okay.
And the same logic can apply to, even a basketball franchise who wants to do great community programs. If you're spending money on it, we want to make sure that the money's going to good use.
And how do you guys benefit from this? Just by being able to tie yourselves with the Hornets name, or is there financial?
There's lots of benefit. I mean, we've done an equal trade, providing certain assets and services to the Hornets in exchange for certain assets and services. So that kind of balances out. I think we will be able to raise some financial resources together, which is important to fuel the work. I think the most important thing is, United Way has to be able to prove its value in community. And the only way you can do that is to get results. And the only way you can get results is if you focus on proven programs and if you had good partners. And when you take the Hornets and its media, social media power, and the power and influence of the franchise and pair it with the financial resources that we garner, because we can raise in excess of $13, $14 million a year to fund programs. When you pair those two things together, you can have success. And we like to be able to go back to the community and say, look, when you partner with United Way, here are the results that you get. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to help families be independent and self-sufficient. And anything we can do to further that goal, that's what we want to do.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep you too long.
That's okay.
When you sit down with the Hornets and look at their past community service projects, are you going to say this is what you've done wrong, or are you only going to consult going forward on new projects?
I think what we want to do with the Hornets, and we have been doing over the past several months, is looking and doing research to see what programs are in place. Not as a criticism, because honestly, as I look back on the Hornets community enrichment programs, the programs are right. The focus is right. You're keeping kids in school and rewarding good attendance, and improving math skills, and fitness activities and reading programs. Those all make perfect sense. So I think our goal is to help them be better.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
sure.
From my perspective, say I look at it and I say, well, they had this bookmobile, and that costs X amount a year. And really, how much is that helping out? That's kind of what you guys do, right?
Right.
What you'll
exactly.
do for them going forward and on new projects also?
Well, and part of it is to evaluate its prior success, but also determine how it can be better. So having a bookmobile as an asset may be a great thing. Where does it go? How often does it go? Who are the target children? And where do we think you're going to get the best return for that investment and see long-term systemic change? So if you spend $100,000 a year on a bookmobile, then we should be able to show that long term it produces X value. And there are certain numbers you can wrap around that to say, more kids we have reading at an early age, the better chance they have of being successful long term. That impacts high school graduation rates. Well, if you can influence the high school graduation rates, 5%, 10% a year, and begin to reduce that, we know that has an impact on crime. It has an impact on what children do with their spare time, with there are a lot of bad things that can happen. So we know there are a lot of things that suggest you can save a lot of money, a lot of taxpayer money, if you invest on the front end. So if we have a partner that says, I'm spending this because I want children to read, then we're going to say, well, we want to maximize your investment, get the best return possible.
Cool. Sounds good.
Well, that's awesome.
I look forward to seeing you guys in action.
Yeah, we'll be doing more.
Sometime.
Yeah, thanks.